Howdy, everybody! It's the next installment of the Dave DY Show! Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Welcome back to the show that never ends. Today is 9/11. Remembering 9/11, 18 years ago today, this morning, was a major event in many people's lives. Probably one of, if not the largest event in the last 50 years. Maybe not that long. 30 years. Definitely this century. The largest event in this century. And there's been some large ones. But on par with, maybe not because the generations are gone, but you know, from my time, on par with a global war. You know, world wars are hard to surpass as to mass and size and scope and loss and expenditure and impact. I mean, just huge, right? But the World Trade Centers being destroyed, and then the culminating engagements with the United States and Europe and other countries for the eradication of the Taliban. Which it seems like, you know, there's always going to be Taliban. There's always going to be terrorists, and there's always going to be factions that do not agree with the majority. And they're going to seek attention in many different ways. The cartel does that now, right? Fear. The cartels do that now. But where were you on September 11th, 2001? Do you remember? I think we all do. It's not blurry yet, that memory when someone says, hey, do you recall? And it might not have been directly tied to newscasts, the Today Show, televised or video or media updates of jet planes flying into skyscrapers. Yeah, so where were you on 9/11? Do you remember? I bet you do. I bet you remember where you were on 9/11. I think we all do. And I think some of us have very explicit, and I mean, it's human, right? The different ways we process information. I remember where I was. I remember what happened. I remember watching the news. I remember the reactions of the people around me. I remember my personal reaction. I remember the approach that I normally take, intrigue, with a mass shooting, with any of these things, right? And then the ongoing story and watching these events unfold. And we had Lehman Brothers in New York, so there were many, many people I knew that were directly impacted. Lehman Brothers was in the towers. We were in One World Trade, and the building, one of our main buildings was condemned. And very odd stories that came out of that. Superhuman stories from some people. We had a gentleman, Bob Spicer, who was in charge of infrastructure. And he actually he pulled money out of a ATM machine, $100 bills, and he paid trucks $100 bills, paid the drivers to sit and wait for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, while we could enact things, while we could pull the inventory off the trucks, while we could load the trucks. I mean, just extraordinary stuff. People working for 15 straight days, 20-hour days, taking a 4-hour sleep, getting up, doing it again, living off coffee, living off cigarettes. Very, very strange world, and we all have our own personal impacts from that, and then we have generalized feeling. And at the time, and for a while thereafter, we had a unified feeling. That neighborhood, that gang, that crew, that club, your clique, your groupies, your homies, your people, and that was pretty much everybody. That was Mayor Giuliani. That was George W. That was first responders. That was the military. It was everything, right? It all congealed together into that, like, fuck them. Do this, Yeah, and then you had a wash of other emotions and feelings and loss and tragedy and stark callousness and shock, right? Numbness. And I think it hadn't started yet, that callousness, that continual, ongoing smashing in your face of some kind of major, global, massive impact of death, destruction, chaos, and the frenzy of social media was not there yet. It was on the cusp. And therefore, the way that things happen today, with this massive ripple everywhere immediately, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, it didn't occur then, right? So you still had this awash where it spread. And the people in the immediate areas saw the media, saw the news, watched the television, listened to the stories. And not the immediate area, that was the people in the entire nation. The people in the immediate area, they reacted. I was in Washington, D.C. I went down to the Pentagon. And maybe not the day after or 2 days after, 2 or 3 days after, down there, and the things that were going on in the area that was impacted, the governmental, the military reaction to that area, what was cordoned off, what you could get to, an area that they'd set up where immediately people were placing notes, grievances, artifacts, the weirdest shit, right? And it built flowers, bringing razors, bringing, immediately. There wasn't this struggle. Even though this was one of the first real events, though we'd had, bombings in Oklahoma, we'd had the garage at the World Trade bombed. We'd led up to this, but not on this scale. There were donations, there was food, there were free lunches, there was clothing, there was things for families, there was, any water, anything, any perishable, any reusable, anything you could think of, people were dropping off. Local businesses, small businesses, everybody stepped up. And for a while that was unbelievably powerful and unique and awesome. And that's gone now. And social media changed and added to that, to where we're probably polarized, but possibly 180 degrees opposite of that now. With a president that tweets, just diarrhea, puke tweets. Now, we should have zero interest rates, or lending should be free again. We should just enhance and refinance our debt, and we're trillions of dollars of debt, and just craziness anymore. And that was not turn of the century. We still had many of the precepts and the constructs of the legacy generations. The 1980s, 70s, 60s, 90s, 50s, 40s, 30s, right? Weird. But yeah, where were you and how did it impact you? And where are you today and what do you think about it? Weirdly, I celebrate and I remember and I think about it today I was like, I woke up and I'm like, I don't care. It was the strangest thing. I don't want to hear about 9/11. Yeah, I know it's 9/11. I know it's the 18th anniversary. Let's move on. That was my initial reaction. And then I felt compelled to do this. Strangely. And nothing heated or hot or huge or major, but just a thought. Where were you? How did it impact you? How's it impacted you now? Where do you think we are from then? Are we better? Are we worse? Are we the same? Lots of questions. Just some basic thoughts. Comment, like, subscribe, share. Dave DY Show. Thanks again for watching. Out.